The New Look Logie Awards get underway straight after the news. Sydney hosting the show for the first time in almost 40 years.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch and to TV's backslapping Night of Nights with 7 News proud as punch to showcase the New Look Logies. So, what did we get?
And to present the Gold Logie for 2023, the one and only Daryl Summers.
Yes, Daryl Summers, a 3-time Gold Logie winner in the 1980s, who, like his jokes, is neither new nor funny. And his mock auction for the Top Gong left a crowd wondering why on earth Seven had dug him up.
Hamish Blake, $10,000 from Hamish Blake. Thank you, Hamish. No, Tom Gleeson, you're not even nominated. You can't, Tom, you can't do it twice. You did it with Grant years ago. You can't do it tonight.
News.com.au called it a bizarre introduction roasted by viewers. But it wasn't as painful as Seven's shameless campaign for its own star, Sonia Kruger, to get the Top Gong, which kicked off in June.
Sonia is carrying the hopes of the Seven network on these beautifully tanned shoulders.
Can I give you a slogan to work with?
Go.
What about this? Onya Sonia. You can use that. That's my gift to you.
Thank you, Sam.
Onya Sonia. Onya Sonia.
And from then on, Onya Sonia was Seven's go-to slogan.
Guys, yesterday I went to the Channel 7 T-shirt shop and look what I found. To really
We have a T-shirt
the
shop?
Sonia Kruger.
Oh, yes! Sonia!
Can we say it?
Yeah.
Onya Sonia!
And even Seven's finance editor, Gemma Acton, was in on the act, rigging the outcome for Kruger in a stunt involving guide dogs picking the winner.
But because there are just so many bowls and these dogs are just so small, we thought we'd help them out by removing a couple of the bowls beforehand. We also don't want to upset our publicity team so much. There we go, made it a little easier for them.
Yes, democracy in action. And Seven's campaign continued right up until the close of voting during the red carpet telecast, co-hosted by, you guessed it, Seven's Sonia Kruger.
The nominees are starting to arrive, so make sure you have your say. Voting is still open and the details are right down here.
And did Sonia and Seven's hard sell bag the gong? You bet.
Sonia Kruger!
But while her colleagues cheered, some were less than impressed. How, they asked, can TV's gold medal go to a person who has a history of making offensive slurs during her TV career? Like this comment in 2008, which made it onto Media Watch.
Just got to ask, of course, Cup Carnival time. How many dresses have you got for Spring Carnival? Because you're doing every day, aren't you?
Let's just say that there's a sweatshop full of illegal immigrants working on them right now. How is the family chong?
Seven later apologised for her remark. Sonia did not and said she had no regrets. Then in 2016, Kruger mouthed her way back into the headlines by calling a scholarship for LGBTI kids reverse discrimination.
I don't think it should have anything to do with the awarding of a scholarship. I think a scholarship should be given on merit. It sort of feels like reverse discrimination to me.
But it was her call to ban Muslim immigration, for which our Gold Logie winner is best remembered.
There is a correlation between the number of people who are Muslim in a country and the number of terrorist attacks. Personally, I would like to see it stop now for Australia because I want to feel safe.
But just to clarify, Sonia, are you saying that you would like our borders closed to Muslims at this point?
Yes, I would. I would.
And she backed that up in a teary statement next day.
I acknowledge my views yesterday may have been extreme, but there is no simple answer here. And if we are to find a solution to the situation, at the very least, we need to be able to discuss it.
Sonia Kruger never backed down or apologised, even after a New South Wales tribunal found her comments vilified Muslims, while clearing her of racial vilification because Muslims are not a racial group. So, should her history of making such slurs be taken into account? The Herald's cultural editor Osman Faruqi, himself a Muslim, believes it should. In a scathing review of the Logies and Kruger's award, he noted,
"While there may be some lines you can't cross in this industry, vilifying Muslims isn't one. In Australia, mediocrity and far-right views on Muslim immigration will nab you the biggest prize we have."
And Faruqi is not a lone voice. In Mumbrella, communications specialist Adam Ridder was stating,
I want to see this enhanced spotlight on Kruger lead to a resolution that acknowledges the hurt caused by Kruger's actions and felt by some of the most marginalised groups in our society.
So, is that likely? We asked Seven for a response to criticism of their Logie star. It told us...
The Gold Logie is voted on by the Australian viewing public. Sonia is one of Australia's favourite stars, as reflected from the ratings of the successful program she's on.
Well, successful she may well be, but Sonia is not everyone's favourite star. But now, to a major row about the media's coverage of climate action. And here is the context. Antarctic ice is melting fast. Parts of the planet are on fire, and heat records are being smashed around the world.
Parts of South America are sweltering under temperatures approaching 40 degrees Celsius in winter.
Heat waves aren't just setting records on land, they're also setting records at sea.
And with July the hottest month ever recorded, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has told the world we must act fast.
Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived.
So, what is the media coverage row about? Is it about the Australians Adam Crichton branding Guterres' statement stupid and hysterical? Or about Crichton's story rubbishing those record-breaking temperatures? Or is it about this misleading message in News Corp's Wall Street Journal?
Climate change hasn't set the world on fire.
No, it is none of those. The national hue and cry is about a failed protest in Perth outside the home of the CEO of an Australian oil and gas company.
This was not a quote-unquote harmless protest as we know it. What happened Tuesday has left me shaken, fearful and distressed.
Disrupt Burrup Hub protesters are accused of turning up to Ms O'Neill's home armed with spray paint and padlocks.
The protesters turned up last Tuesday, just before 7 a.m, to be greeted by police from the anti-terror squad, who were lying in wait. 5 people were arrested, and 4 have been charged with conspiracy to commit an indictable offence. But what has got everyone going ballistic is that a crew from ABC Four Corners was on the scene to film the action.
Prompting a scathing letter from WA Premier Roger Cook to ABC Chair Ita Buttrose, blasting the public broadcaster for its morally wrong attendance at the home, accusing the ABC of being complicit.
Woodside was also raising hell with the media, politicians and the ABC, including with the Chair, Ita Buttrose, MD David Anderson and direct to news executives. With one insider telling Media Watch,
"I've never seen anything like it. Such blatant exercise of power."
Meanwhile, the West Australian was slamming the ABC with consecutive front pages on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, which were backed up by a chorus of condemnation from the News Corp tabloids, with former Telegraph editor David Penberthy accusing the ABC of encouraging the protesters and raging.
The incident is a case study into the lunatic inner workings of the political fanatic. It has ramifications beyond the world of environmental protest and shows how protesters on the extremes now dehumanise the people they oppose.
And adding, one protester,
"If this bloke turned up on my lawn at the crack of dawn, I'd be tempted to reverse over him."
And while Perth 6PR wasn't contemplating violence, it was also showing plenty of anger.
What's the ABC thinking accompanying this? I can't actually imagine who would give the tick of approval that it is okay to accompany or film a protest at the CEO's home. Where is the news and current affairs value in intimidating the CEO in her family home?
The ABC says it is now investigating the incident, but in a statement on Wednesday defended its actions, saying Four Corners didn't know it was a private house, which is hard to believe, and didn't know what was going to happen. Adding,
"The ABC team remained on public land observing what was happening and getting some vision, as journalists do. The ABC team in no way colluded with the activists."
But over the weekend, part of that was called into question.
Sky News can reveal this photograph of an ABC crew on the driveway of Ms O'Neill's home in Perth, which casts into doubt the ABC's version of events, that they did not go onto private property. And the ABC still insists that standing on the driveway like that is technically and legally not standing on private property.
We reckon the pictures suggest the ABC crew was outside the boundary of O'Neill's home. But O'Neill is now demanding the ABC apologise and not film near her house again. Woodside has also filed a formal complaint with the ABC Ombudsman, even though no story has gone to air. So, how big a deal is this? Free speech hero Peter Grester, who spent 13 months in an Egyptian jail, told The Guardian,
"If the ABC didn't incite the protest, and there's no suggestion that they did, and they didn't trespass, and there's no suggestion that they trespassed, and they didn't disrupt the police, then I fail to see what the problem is."
And the West Australian's Ben Harvey was similarly dismissive, describing the WA Premier as hypocritical, huffing and puffing, and noting,
"We're a conservative town that's a wholly owned subsidiary of the resources companies that Disrupt Burrup Hub is targeting. Protesters like the 4 who went to Meg's home in City Beach on Tuesday know that you can have all the police-escorted street marches you want. The only way you shift the dial is by making people squirm."
We're not condoning the actions and tactics of the Perth protest, but it's surely something the media must be allowed to report on. Four Corners is trying to make a program about direct action climate protesters and tough new laws that target them. And if Four Corners did get too close to the activists, and we're not saying they did, can we get a sense of proportion here? Woodside's Burrup Hub will produce billions of tonnes of carbon emissions in its lifetime if you include the gas burnt by its customers. As federal independent MP Kate Cheney, who has condemned last week's protest, claimed on Q&A,
if this expansion of the North West Shelf gas processing facility goes ahead, the emissions from the gas that is extracted and then used in this facility is the equivalent to Australia's entire emissions budget from 2030 all the way to 2050 when we're at net zero. It is absolutely huge.
Antonio Guterres has urged the world to stop oil and gas expansion or face climate disaster. Meanwhile, the West Australian, the Australian, Sky News and the News Corp tabloids are more interested in raising hell about the ABC filming a protest that didn't even happen. We believe the ABC was doing its job, reporting on matters of public interest. We don't think it should apologise, and any attempt to cow the ABC or shut down its reporting would be an attack on media freedom. Now, to the biggest game in town, which a lot of people are watching on another channel.
Playing at home with a home crowd, see everyone in green and gold. I hope I remember it forever. This is it. We're going to give it our all.
Be part of history. Live and free on 7 and 7+.
The Women's World Cup has been a spectacular success, with more than 1.7 million tickets sold and many matches sold out. And viewing numbers on TV are red hot. Take last week's match against Canada, which delivered more than just a clean sheet for the Matildas. Seven says it was the most watched women's sports match in Australian history.
The 4-0 win over the Olympic champions marks the first time a women's sports event has averaged more than 2 million viewers on television, making it Seven's most watched program so far in 2023.
So, if it's such a hit, why is Seven only showing 15 out of 64 games? Short answer, because it doesn't have the TV rights, and that has left supporters angry.
Fan fury as Women's World Cup largely disappears behind subscription.
With Women's Agenda asking,
what message are we sending to football fans across Australia who want to get behind the women's game? That women's sport does not deserve as much accessible airtime as men's.
While SBS was having a cheeky dig at its commercial rival for dudding viewers and pointing out that it showed all 64 matches of the 2022 Men's World Cup free to air. So, how come that is not happening this time? It's because the Women's World Cup is not on the anti-siphoning list, so pay TV companies were allowed to buy the rights. And Optus Sport duly did, for a bargain $8 million, according to the Financial Review. As the Optus head of content happily pointed out at the time,
the 2019 women's event in France, 74% of the population watched it. That's just crazy. This will be without doubt the biggest event in this country since the Sydney Olympics.
And why did the free-to-air TV networks fail to see the potential and outbid Optus? In the words back then of Clive Dickens, the man who made the deal,
everybody's asleep at the wheel because they see this as a men's-dominated game.
Knowing that there would be a fuss if nothing was on free-to-air, Optus then unsold 15 games, including all Matildas matches and many of the knockout games, to Seven. And why didn't Seven take more? We're told that Optus didn't offer them. But we put that to Optus and they did not respond. Either way, Seven and Australian fans have lost out. Meantime, the success of the Matildas and the drama of Sam Kerr's calf injury have given our headline writers endless fun with these cracker puns in the papers.
It's no longer kerboom or bust for Matildas.
Coach should be curtious.
Poker face.
No calf truths.
And you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to try to top them. That is all from us for tonight. You can read full statements from Seven, Woodside and the ABC on our website. Don't forget Media Bites on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. But for now, until next week, goodbye.